Probably should have done the throat clearing before I went live, but whatever. Yeah, knocking out the August live stream early. I just really felt like streaming today. Felt like interacting with the lovely, lovely people who usually join these streams. But as usual, gotta wait a minute or two for people to come on in. Nothing much has been going on in my life. Well, may as well talk about something, waiting for people to come in. Um, Probably a depressing thing to start off with. Well, not really depressing. Initially, it was depressing. I mentioned in my last stream, my uncle who lives in the basement of my house. He had a stroke last month, almost exactly a month ago, July 5th, and in a restaurant of all places. Um, and initially, we thought it was going to be really bad. Like, he would have to learn how to walk and talk all over again. But thankfully, he was able to recover his speech, relatively quickly. He still speaks kind of slurred, but that's fine. It's better than having to learn how to speak from scratch all over again. And he's able to move his leg a little bit. His right side was the right side of his body was what was affected. Um, he's making some progress. He recently went to a rehabilitation center this past Wednesday. So, and he's getting the best of care there. My other uncle visited him the other day, or well, the day he was admitted actually, and he was really happy with the care he was receiving. So that's really good. Um, yeah, not a lot of bad shit going on this year. I'll say that much for me, both in my personal life and when it comes to um, major events in the news and such. I see there's some people here. Hello, Dylan. Hello, average YouTube commenter. How are the both of you doing? Hopefully, better than how I have been doing as of late. Hope the best for your uncle. I also hope the best for your uncle. Thank you. Thank you both for the kind words. The one thing that's a concern, though, is his right arm. He still has no function of the arm. There's no guarantee he'll regain function of the arm, so that's the really scary part. But all he can do at this point is just hope for the best. Again, he's receiving very good treatment. He's under the best of care at the facility he's at now, and you know, um, obviously the therapists he's seeing aren't miracle workers, but hopefully he makes good progress, and hopefully he regains function of that arm. Good, doing better. That's good. I just got back from floating down the river. It's been a long time since I went swimming. When was the last time? Yeah, the last time I was in a pool was when I went to Florida, in 2021, late April of 2021. Actually, I remember the exact date. I went down to Florida, April 24th. The reason I remember the date off the top of my head is because that's also my father's birthday, and he was down there too. So it was I got to spend a week with him and my grandmother in Florida. And my grandmother lives in a not exactly a senior citizen community, but a community for people who are like 50 or over. It's a bunch of houses, and there's a pool area there that I went to. That was really nice. Got to see old church friends on Tuesday at Texas Roadhouse. The last time I've been in a church was when I was a little kid. Didn't make any friends at church because I wasn't a regular church goer. And of course, I mean, I'm not religious, so I don't plan on being ever. I don't plan on ever setting foot in a church again. But it's nice that you got to see your church buddies. I don't know if I ever want to step foot in the church by my house again. There's literally a church like that's a fucking 2 minute drive from my house. Like I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, the priest that was there got exposed for being very inappropriate with little boys, and I'll leave it at that. It's very disturbing that something like that happens so close to where I live. Well, of course, that priest isn't there anymore, but yeah, still rather not ever step foot in that place ever again. Uh, the river in my city luckily isn't very polluted and dirty. Oh, that's good. I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, I would not swim in any river that's over here in NYC because all of them are 100% filled with garbage. Very fucking nasty. Yeah, no thank you. But it's good that the rivers by where you're at are cleaner. I mean, Canada in general seems to care way more about its environment than this country does. I mean, there's a park by my house that has a little beach. I think I've mentioned this in previous streams, but that would otherwise be a very nice little beach if it wasn't always fucking covered in trash. People just use it as their dumping ground to throw their wrappers, their water bottles. I fucking hate that shit. When there are garbage cans and recycling bins all over that park, but no one even fucking bothers to use them. They just throw their trash on the ground. Very, very nice. I'm trying to get my retirement money from the school system in my area. Retirement money? How old are you? Michael, are you still in college? Not sure if you've stated if you went. Um, yeah, I was in college. I got my bachelor's. Um, don't plan on getting my master's right now, but maybe that'll be something I'll do later on down the line. What are your thoughts on Boogie's meltdown on Keemstar's Lolcow podcast? I didn't see the full stream that meltdown was from because outside of that one stream where Boogie was confronted about lying about his cancer diagnosis, I have no interest in watching that fucking shit. The Lolcow shit has never been anything that's interested me. Oh, Wings of Redemption says dumb shit, or DSP jacked off in a live stream like 10 years ago. I don't care about that kind of stuff. Boogie has always kind of sort of interested me just purely because of the downfall, because he used to be one of the darlings on this website. One of the top dogs on this site, one of the most beloved content creators. Now look where he's at. That's why I take a marginal interest in Boogie drama. Not to say that I pay a lot of attention to that though. I mean, whenever some new developments arise, I usually pay attention. I'm not one to really pay attention day in and day out of what's going on with Boogie. But anyway, um, I saw that meltdown, and it was some of the fakest shit I've ever seen. I mean, it was entertaining in the sense that Boogie is stupid enough to think that people would legitimately think he was having a meltdown. And what is he still doing in that podcast? I thought Keemstar was going to fire him. Well, of course, Keemstar is not going to fire him. This is probably the most attention that stupid ass podcast has ever gotten. I'm sure Keemstar has raked in a shitload of money from super chats from the, past few streams they've been doing ever since it came out that Boogie was lying about his cancer diagnosis. This is just a gold mine to Keemstar. Money is what he cares about first and foremost. He does not give a shit about principles, and um, that's why he is still employing Boogie. I also saw Destiny's debate with Boogie. It was also really entertaining. My favorite part was when he made fun of Boogie for having a girlfriend that's young enough to be his goddamn daughter. Boogie freaked out at that. I'm cleaning my 2 foot tall bong right now with purple power. I see. I'm also trying to get into college still. The rivers in Alberta are beautiful. Yeah, I've seen pictures of rivers and forests and such in Canada, and it looks really nice. Again, I'm sure it's a lot. I'm sure the wilderness is a lot nicer in Canada than it is here. The river. I read that. How hard is it to walk like 30 feet to the nearest trash can? Very hard, apparently, to your average New Yorker. They can't be fucked to take like maybe at most a minute long walk to a trash can. There are trash cans all over this city, but people just ignore them and throw their fucking garbage on the ground. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. People here, people in this country, especially in the big cities like NYC, are just fucking gross. That's why I still opt to wear a mask whenever I'm taking public transportation. Like, you know, last time I was in a bus was last week when I did some grocery shopping for my family. Um, while I was on the bus, I was probably the only one wearing a mask. And I get it, like at this point, no one cares about COVID anymore. You know, people who still wear masks in 2024 are usually chastised and are like, and are usually met with ridicule and all that stupid shit. But I'm choosing to still wear a mask when I'm taking public transportation because, again, people in the city are just fucking gross and you never know what they could be carrying. And they're not hygienic at all. Like it's not uncommon where you see like gum right from someone's mouth left on a seat or some shit on the bus. I'm 20. When you said retirement money, that's when that made me think, how fucking old are you? Could have sworn you're around my age, and you are. Hey, Mikey. Hello, Siler. Nice. How you doing? I'll be 21 in December. Cool. I'm 23, and I'll be 24 next March. Wow. Good afternoon, Michael. Good afternoon, Danny. How are you doing? I'm getting retirement money since I worked for the school system in my area at a high school for food service. I got put on leave of absence in October of 2023. Yeah, I remember you telling me a little bit about that job and how it you had your share of hardships while working that job. And I obviously won't get too much into detail on that since I don't know if you want me airing that on a stream, but yeah, I remember you talking about your job a little bit. Boogie also got a liar tattoo on his face. I heard about that, but I didn't watch the video where he showed that off. Because like at this point, I don't want to fucking give Boogie the time of day. When you're caught lying about something as serious as cancer, why should anyone give you the time of day? Like at that point, you're just out and out piece of shit. Like I lost a grandmother to cancer. My grandmother is like my best friend, and she, spent a month in the hospital dying before, she succumbed to the cancer. It was August of 2020, the worst fucking month of my life. That was when she was in the hospital. And yet this fucking piece of shit lied about having cancer just to garner sympathy from his audience because he is so obsessed with being the victim, so obsessed with people pitying him. Yeah, honestly, YouTube should just fucking terminate his channel. Oh yeah, and also using said supposed cancer that he doesn't really have, more than likely, to also scam his fans with a crypto shitcoin. Again, he's a disgusting piece of shit. I don't want to give him the time of day anymore unless some big new development happens, uh, which will probably happen knowing Boogie. But as of now, yeah, fuck Boogie. I'm not. I was gonna say he's dead to me, but he's been dead to me for a long time at this point. Not like Boogie was ever really a channel I cared about watching to begin with. I mean, back when he was the YouTube darling, I watched him on occasion. He was never someone on my regular rotation of YouTubers that I enjoyed watching or anything, but still, yeah, any any sliver of respect I still had for him is completely gone at this point. Not like I really had any previously, but you know what I mean. His name is Andy Ditch. Whose name is Andy Ditch? I don't know who you're referring to. Message retracted. I'm still in college, but the only problem is that I don't know what to do after. That's a problem with a lot of people. They go into college, but they still don't really have a clear idea of what they want to do afterwards. And especially in a job market like today's job market, where it's so competitive, it's so hard to get a job. You know, you could bust your ass in college, get the best of grades, get a really good degree, and what the fuck is that worth? You're still the chances are you're not going to get a good paying job right off the bat. In the words of Bob Dylan, 20 years of school and then they put you on the day shift. Boogie's liar tattoo has 12k dislikes if you have the extension versus 2.4k likes. Yeah, I figured that video had a very high dislike count. I'd imagine going forward, every Boogie video is going to have a high dislike count. Because how could anyone have any ounce of respect for a guy who, again, had no shame lying about having cancer? Think of all of the people in his audience who probably knew someone who battled cancer, or someone who even succumbed to cancer, or maybe even themselves had cancer, and felt sorry for him, even though he supposedly had a cancer. Well, he said he had a cancer that wasn't one of the more serious forms of cancer or anything. It wasn't terminal, but still, when you say you have any form of cancer, that's a very serious thing because cancer is naturally a very, very serious and touchy subject for many people. Because again, so many people in this world know someone who had cancer or succumbed to cancer or had cancer themselves. Hell, my dad 10 years ago, he could have died from cancer. I remember it was around 2013, 2014. He was he was battling lung cancer. He told me at one point he got surgery, and it was a toss up if he was even gonna survive the fucking surgery. I wish he would have fucking learned his lesson though after that, because he got cancer from smoking like a chimney, and he's still smoking like a chimney. So that's probably what's gonna kill him someday. But yeah, cancer is a very touchy subject. What's also scary is my mother's side of the family. So many people have contracted cancer. Quite a few have died from cancer. So I have a predisposition to cancer. I could very well fucking get cancer someday. And yet here's this piece of shit using cancer as a ploy for sympathy to get people to buy his shitcoin, happily scamming his audience and using that cancer as a weapon to say, I need to scam my audience out of $10,000 because I need to pay medical expenses for my cancer. Fuck you. Disgusting, repulsive piece of shit. Your heart can't give out soon enough. I hate seeing garbage in the park or in the rivers. Yeah, I hate that too. Again, there's a little beach that's at a park right by my house, and that beach is always filled with garbage. And the water at that beach is also filled with garbage. It's disgusting. I never want to set foot in that beach. That's the same park that does fireworks shows every year on 4th of July. They light fireworks on that little beach. I mean, aside from the garbage, though, that park is kind of nice. Um, I should go there more often. Have you ever lost your email or been hacked before? This happened to me last Sunday from a stupid fucker on Twitter trying to give me money, and they signed my old email on the iPhone. No, I have never been hacked, and I hope I never ever get hacked. I mean, I've never gotten any of those, sketchy emails that have shady ass links, and if you click on the link, your your emails and passwords are compromised. And at this point, I kind of know what to look out for. I know someone on Discord who got hacked some months ago. Um, in their hacked account, I think they fell for I think the account was like, "Hey, I accidentally reported you." Well, actually, a friend of theirs got hacked first. They DM'd that person, and they're like, "Hey, I accidentally reported you. Can you click on this link to talk to a Discord admin or some shit and get this sorted out?" And that person fell for it, and um, their account ended up getting hacked, and then they never got the account back. They're on a different account now. Someone I know that's on another server. And that account also messaged me like, "Hey, I think it was the same thing. Hey, I accidentally reported you. Can you click on this link?" And I was like, "Hell no!" Blocked the account and closed DMs. Yeah, you got to be more careful with, especially if you get random emails that just send links to you or messages from people on like Discord and such. From random people that you don't know. Yeah, you got to be really wary of that shit. That's why on Discord, well, one, if you're not on my friends list, you have to send me like a fucking um, message request before I'm even able to reply to the message. But still, well, I think that really just applies if I don't share a server with a person. But anyway, I don't reply to messages from people I don't know, because usually it's just someone shilling a crypto scam or again, trying to get me to click on a fucking shady ass link that I'm never in a million years going to click because they almost certainly want my passwords and emails and such. Yeah, I'm really careful when it comes to that shit. But even still, I've heard of instances where people's channels get hacked and they never did click on any link or anything. Just out of nowhere, someone was able to get into their account and hijack it, and that's really scary. Again, I hope nothing like that ever happens to me one day because, with a channel my size, Google almost certainly does not give a single shit if my channel gets hacked. So, if that were to ever happen, I'd probably be fucked. Sup, bro? Hello, Robert. How you doing? I'm gonna be 18 in November. Cool. I'll be 28 in November. Cool. He also really likes to put his barely legal girlfriend in thumbnails. Yeah, I know. He likes to use her as eye candy a lot. And that stupid video where he was shelling his crypto scam, he had her like walking around in her underwear. She was practically naked in the video. And yeah, it's she's around my age, I know, but still it's really fucking creepy. Because this dude is in his 50s now, and he's dating someone who I think someone told me she was like 3 years old when he started uploading videos on YouTube. No matter what fucking rationalizations you want to throw at me, nothing is going to get me to think that's not fucking weird. I got a Discord notification. The poll who had the worst apology response video has been closed. What the fuck? Oh, yeah. Someone did this poll yesterday in my server. I forgot. I might consider starting out as a small fry doing local theater. Oh well, I mean, if that's what you really want to do, go ahead. That's something I can never fucking do in a million years. Theater. Yeah. Going on stage in front of like probably hundreds of people. No. I mean, I kind of do the virtual equivalent of that. I do YouTube videos that usually garner like, 100, 200 views, more than that, occasionally. But if I'm not physically speaking in front of the people who watch my videos, that would be a completely different story. No way would I be able to handle that. Remember, I had to do a speech class in my first semester of community college. This was fall of 2019, so we didn't have lockdowns yet. Classes didn't go all virtual yet. So, I actually had to speak in front of the class. We had to do throughout the semester, I think 4 speeches. That was yeah, I mean, I'm glad I did it. It was an experience that, was scary at first, but something that I'm now glad I did. Faced my fear when it comes to public speaking and, speaking in front of, well, it wasn't a large group of people. It wasn't like we're in an auditorium or anything. We're just in a normal classroom, but, still, speaking in front of 20 some odd students was just nerve-wracking. But again, I think I did a fairly good job because, these videos give me some experience when it comes to public speaking, and I feel like it has improved my speaking ability in some ways. Like, I look back at some of my earliest videos and I'm just fumbling over my words constantly, losing my train of thought a lot. And, it's really hard for me to watch videos from even just like 5 years ago. I'm just like fucking, you know, stumbling over my words constantly, and I'm, able to. I think I've gotten a lot better when it comes to speaking, and I have these videos to thank for that. Gave me a lot of confidence too when it comes to my voice as well. I really hated my voice before I started making these videos, but now I like my voice, despite what a lot of commenters tell me about my voice. But whatever. Didn't YouTube get rid of dislikes? They did, but there's also there's been there's a dislike extension for Chrome and Firefox and probably some other browsers too. I don't know, but I use Chrome and there's a dislike extension. There's an extension that allows you to see how many dislikes a video received. Well, not exactly how many dislikes a video received. It's an estimation because YouTube doesn't share the dislike API with any third-party service. So yeah, you're not gonna see the exact dislike count that the video gets. Like for example, there's some videos of mine that have over 10 dislikes, and the dislike extension still rounds that number to 0, so it makes it look like no one disliked my video, which I find very funny. But it does a good enough job with videos that have a higher amount of views and more engagement. Speaking of pollution, I know that Chesapeake Bay has a lot of pollution. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I've never really looked up much when it comes to Chesapeake Bay, but again, I don't doubt it. I got my Insta account hacked around the same time that Nathaniel Bandy had his YouTube account hacked. How did your how did your Instagram account get hacked? Did you click on a link or something? Again, like on Discord, for example, if a random account DMs me out of nowhere, I don't respond to the message. If they send me a link that's even more fucking sketchy, do not respond to the message. I just close DMs and probably also block the person. There's also some accounts that are in servers that I'm also in, but I never fucking look at. And out of the blue, they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't fucking know you. I don't. Why do you care about how I'm doing?" It's probably also another scam to get people to click on a link and have their information compromised. My friend Snapchat once got hacked, and some guy kept spamming clown fetish porn in his story. What the fuck? Usually it's just crypto shit. Clown fetish porn. That's a new one. I'm alright, you. I'm doing okay. I mean, as good as I can be. Things aren't the best for me recently. Oh, really, this year in general, things haven't been the best for me, but it's the reason I made my Twitter account private. So many bots have been following me a lot on Twitter with some weird sexual profile pictures without any tweets in their account. Sometimes, once in a blue moon, I get an account that follows me, and the account profile picture is of some girl, and it's almost certainly a stolen profile pic, and I go on the profile just to see if it's a legit person, and I'm like, it's almost certainly a bot, but I still go on the account to check to see if it's a legit person, and it's usually just like a fucking blank profile or a profile that just responds to other tweets with the most generic shit, and you can tell it's a bot. That's what Twitter is infested with these days, because a lot of fucking people have jumped ship at this point. It's just infested with bots. Initially Elon was like, "Oh, I'm gonna reduce the bot problem. Don't you worry." When Twitter bots have, I mean, obviously they've always been an issue, but they have never been this fucking bad. Like that site is just a fucking garbage heap. I don't look at it as much as I used to. There are plenty of days at this point where I don't even look at Twitter at all. Because what is there to fucking look forward to? It's a Nazi fucking hellhole at this point. That's not even an exaggeration. If I go on my Twitter right now, there's probably going to be a whole bunch of posts fucking speculating about if some some person who was in the Olympics is trans or not. I heard about that controversy. Which, speaking of that, I mean, I haven't really looked into that. I've seen pictures of the woman they're transvestigating currently. And yeah, she's not the most conventionally attractive woman, sure, whatever, but that's not grounds to say that someone is not a cis woman. And she's from Algeria, of all places, a country that has outlawed being gay, outlawed being trans. So why would a country like that send a trans athlete to the goddamn Olympics to represent that country? Like, it doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. All these instances of transvestigating athletes has never made sense to me. Oh, what if this clearly cis female athlete actually has a dick? Like, and you fucking people wonder why people call you weird. Like, you're so fucking surprised when people are like, all these conservatives are goddamn weird. My bong's clean now. I'm gonna grind up a weed strain called Orange Push Pop. Cool. Have fun. This country stinks. I agree. Have you ever seen Freaky Bob in Times Square? What is that? I don't know if that's like a fucking SpongeBob memes. Well, no, I've never in Times Square specifically have I seen that. I don't. The last time I've been in Times Square was years and years ago. I don't go to Manhattan all that often. Too congested for my taste. Especially Times Square. It's a fucking tourist trap anyway. So why would a native New Yorker, go there? I mean, I don't really get the appeal in Times Square personally. Look at all the flashy advertisements that fucking blind you because of how bright they are. Yeah, no thank you. I just turned 21 yesterday, but I'm still not drinking. Oh, happy belated birthday. And yeah, when I turned 21, I had no interest in drinking. Again, alcohol is not appealing to me, especially shit like beer. I mean, I've seen so many people on my father's side just, but since I was a kid, just down beer over and over again until they were just piss drunk and could barely fucking stand up. Even as a kid, I was like, why do people like doing this? I'd much rather be high. 2006, kids can buy weed in Canada. Oh, is 18 is legal age to buy weed in Canada? I figured it was the same as it is here, 20, age 21. Some random user on Insta messaged me, and I think I opened a link or something, and that's what I remember. Yeah, that's why you never click on links from random people who DM you. Well, I've never had that happen to me. Maybe it's also because my account is private, but maybe it has happened to some people who have their accounts private. I don't know, but yeah, nothing like that has ever happened to me on Instagram, and I hope it stays that way. My Instagram got hacked back in 2019 when I was 16 because I stupidly clicked the link. Yeah, that seems to be how most people get hacked. They get messaged by a random stranger who sends them a shady ass link. They click on the link and then their information gets compromised. I've heard about this happening over and over again for years at this point, and again, there have been some accounts that have messaged me with, these links that look very shady, and I never click on them. Or, they try to be all buddy buddy with me at first, and they're like, "Hey, buddy," and almost certainly if I reply to the DM, they're probably gonna send me some kind of link that'll, try to hack into my account. Again, I don't. This is why I don't interact with random strangers who DM me out of the fucking blue. I know someone who had a weird diaper fetish years ago. Oh, that reminded me of something really disgusting. Uh, a bit of a warning if you're sensitive when it comes to shit, literal shit, like how I am. There was this weird kid that I went to high school with, um, and I found his. Well, I didn't find his Twitter. I think I was there's a friend of mine that uses Twitter, and that same kid followed him on Twitter. Um, that friend isn't friends with this kid. I assume this kid probably just found his Twitter and decided to follow him. And I stumbled upon this kid's Twitter account, and I was curious to see what was on the Twitter, the profile. Literally the first thing I see is a retweet of a woman shitting her pants, and I was like, yeah, that's enough for me. Leaving this profile immediately. I think that person who hacked my friend had a clown fetish. Yeah, I don't doubt that. It's just that usually it's just crypto scams that, people post on hacked accounts, not their fucking weird fetishes. I swear I may not fully remember what happened. Oh, about your Instagram getting hacked? Yeah, I believe you. Because I've had memory issues with my meds. I live closer to the Arctic Circle than NYC. I see. Thankfully, I learned to not to open sketchy links or respond to shady users. Yeah, I've learned that lesson a long time ago, and thankfully, I learned that lesson just from hearing other people talk about receiving links from sketchy accounts that they've never interacted with before, or from from accounts that are owned by a friend that got hacked or some shit. And I've never actually ended up getting hacked myself. Like if any Discord friend of mine ends up getting hacked and they out of the blue they send me a DM like, "Hey, I accidentally reported you. Click on this link to get in contact with a Discord admin or some shit." Yeah, I'm not falling for it. I'm packing a bowl right now in my 2 foot tall bong. Cool. I just want weed to be legalized in this country. I wish it would be legalized finally too. But you still have all these old fucks who think weed is the spawn of Satan, the devil's lettuce that is akin to heroin or fentanyl or anything that actually is really bad for you. I mean, I know obviously weed, like anything, can be addictive. For me, it's not an addictive substance, but for other people, it can be. But so is cigarettes, so is alcohol, and those drugs are legal. I don't see why weed needs to have a stigma surrounding it when it is objectively not as harmful for you as, cigarettes and alcohol is. And I've said it time and time again on these streams and in some videos. Legalize all drugs. Fuck it. Like, if someone wants to fucking buy heroin, I don't care. I mean, obviously, I don't condone the usage of heroin, but if someone wants to put a harmful substance into their own body at their own choice, I don't see why they need to be restricted when it comes to making that choice. Never made any sense to me. Even as a kid, I was like, why are drugs illegal when cigarettes and alcohol are legal? Oh, because they're bad for you. And I was like, but so are cigarettes and alcohol. Like, even as a kid, I fucking questioned that. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Manhattan is that big Coca-Cola sign. I forgot about that sign. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Manhattan is my uncle's office, because a couple of times as a kid, my uncle took me to his office. Um, this was way before the pandemic. Again, when I was still a kid. Um, these days, ever since the pandemic began, he's been working from home. Well, 1 week in, I think, 2022, late 2022, he was forced to go back to the office because this is when his company began lifting um, remote working, began forcing workers back to the office. And he had to go back to his office in Manhattan, and he only went back for like a week because he contracted COVID. And then his company allowed him ever since to work from home, because obviously that makes his company look really fucking bad. Yeah, I remember having fun seeing his office in the building he works in. Weed is never going to be legalized. I wouldn't say never. I think it's still an uphill battle, but I mean, the sentiment when it comes to weed being this harmful substance is really popular among, old people. And, um, they're obviously not getting any younger. More and more of them are dying off, and younger generations are realizing that weed is not a harmful substance and should absolutely not be illegal. So I think in my lifetime we will see a nationwide legalization of weed. It's just, I don't know if it'll be anytime soon though. That's not going to happen anytime soon when we still have people who believe dumb things like that weed causes school shootings. There's still people who say that. I know that was a really popular talking point in like the 90s and the 2000s. I figured they pivoted to video games. Or, well, more recently, whenever a fucking mass shooting happens, a lot of conservatives immediately say the shooter was trans. So it seems like they're pivoting from video games to, you know, trans people. Am I the only one who thinks predator poachers are complete douchebags and unprofessional? That's the same group that exposed DDP, right? I think most people agree with you. I think, that group were douchebags and unprofessional. I mean, especially that main guy. What was his name? Chad? It was unearthed that, well, one, there is some video of him prank calling a BLM hotline and just using the N word. He was making all those fat jokes when they were confronting EDP. I remember hearing about this, I think, on my Discord server once. He was using real inappropriate pictures of, like, underage girls to use for his, to use as decoys and his predator catching operations. That group, unfortunately, I really wish a better predator catching group caught EDP. That's an instance where there is no, where there are no good guys. Orange oppressor is losing to Harris. Sweet. Yeah, I mean, I've seen polling from swing states, and Kamala Harris, in polls at least, seems to be wiping out Trump's lead in a lot of swing states. Now, we'll see how that translates on election day. I mean, polls said that Hillary was going to win, and look how that turned out. So, I mean, I don't think it's a surefire thing that Kamala is going to win, but I'd say her chances are pretty decent at this point. Certainly a lot better than Biden's chances were. And a lot of that also has to do with Trump's disastrous VP pick. Who, I mean, I know obviously he listened to his idiot sons and Elon and Tucker, but still, who the fuck, would honestly think that JD Vance would be a good pick for VP? Like I said in my JD Vance video, even a lot of Trumpers didn't like that pick when it was first announced. A lot of Trumpers were like, "Why JD Vance? Trump." I think they're even saying this was a stupid decision by Trump, and it was a rare moment where you saw the MAGA crowd actually saying negative things about Trump because it was objectively a bad decision. Originally, this guy was a never Trumper. He was saying shit like Trump is Hitler. He can't stand Trump. Trump is a fraud. He doesn't care about the common folk, which are all things that are true, but it just shows how disingenuous of a person JD Vance is. He is so obviously fake. He's an ever Trumper who just hopped on the Trump train because he saw where the wind was blowing in his party. He saw how deeply unpopular the anti-Trump position is in the Republican Party. So instead of sticking by his principles, he just hops on the train. And there are countless videos of him just being a hyper misogynist, saying shit like this country is run by childless cat women, essentially saying that abortion should be legal. Not legal. Abortion should be, outlawed, and there should be no exceptions, even for incest and rape. And this is the first general election after Roe v. Wade is overturned. Do you really think you're doing yourself any favors by picking a guy who has countless clips out there saying shit like that? You think that's going to do wonders when it comes to the women vote and the youth vote? Hell no. I just really hope Kamala doesn't shit the bed when it comes to picking the VP as well. Like, I hope she doesn't go with Josh Shapiro. I really want Tim Walz to be the pick. But it would be completely in character with the Democratic Party. They have a good thing and then they completely squash it with a asinine decision at the last minute. I'm gonna hit my 2-foot bong. Cheers, cheers. Smoking the orange push pop. One time a woman stabbed her boyfriend and blamed it on her smoking weed. And another time a teenager essayed a little girl in the UK, and they blamed video games and Slender Man. If you're doing things like essaying a little girl or stabbing your significant other, you have serious issues that were already that were already instilled within you before you smoked weed or played video games. It's really just the old folk who fall for shit like that, you know. Younger generations know obviously that weed itself doesn't make you do those things, or video games doesn't make you do those things. Like I remember when the Uvalde shooting happened, and the whole video game, the shooter probably played violent video games discourse popped up, and I was like, oh, this shit again. Like, how many fucking times are we going to have this goddamn discussion? How many times does it need to be debunked that violent video games don't make you go out and commit mass fucking shootings? It's so tiring. But again, it seems like the discourse seems to be pivoting to trans people, because now every time a mass shooting happens, conservatives are immediately like, "Oh, it was a trans. The shooter was a trans person. Here are pictures of a completely different person who is trans, who vaguely resemble the shooter." Chad is fat himself, Lamau. People are complaining that the younger generation does not want to enlist in the military. Uh, I didn't hear about that discourse, but I really don't care about enlisting into the military. People choose not to enlist in the military, honestly. It's probably for the better. Soldiers are nothing more than mercenaries for rich people anyway. Predator poachers sound like douchebags. There's a reason why EDP is still out there and not in prison. Yeah, because they completely fumbled the sting op. They didn't even actually really care about catching a predator. They just wanted the clout. They just wanted to be known as the group that brought down a big YouTuber like EDP. That's all they cared about first and foremost. They got their 5 minutes of attention, and then I don't know, like 2 weeks after EDP was exposed, their channel got terminated as well. So their fame certainly didn't fucking last, and I think now they post on their website and they charge like $100 or some shit to watch their videos. Well, actually, I think they had a thing on their website like, if you donate $1,000 for us, you get to meet us in person. Like, yeah, I'm totally gonna pay $1,000 to meet you. Jesus Christ. Remember when EDP of all people called out Chris Tyson pop meat kettle? That's exactly how I felt when they blamed that guy stabbing his girlfriend smoke on that guy stabbing on his girlfriend smoking weed. Well, again, anyone who falls for that line of thinking is stupid. I remember when Trump blamed video games for the El Paso shooting. Yeah, I remember that too. Trump also hopped on the violent video games cause mass shootings bandwagon. I saw a comment 12 hours after the Trump shooting when there wasn't much info yet saying, is he trans? He looks it. Yeah. They're going to say that about any mass shooting at this point. They did that with the Uvalde shooting. That was a really big discourse immediately after that happened. They're posting pictures of a completely different person who was trans that kind of looked like the shooter. And they're like, this is the shooter. See, trans people will go out and shoot up schools. This is why we got to do something about these transgenders. I'm gonna take a bong hit now. Cheers. Cheers. People are saying Biden is too old, but Trump is 2 years younger than Biden, who is almost 80. Yeah, now Trump is the old fuck since Biden dropped out of the race. I find it so hilarious how the rug was just pulled out from under the Republicans. This was Trump's election to lose. It looked like he was going to sweep this election. And then all of a sudden, Biden was like, okay, I drop out. And it's funny how things have quickly gone to shit for Trump. JD Vance is a disaster. Trump's lead in the polls in swing states is dissipating. He is now the old fuck. He is barely coherent himself. He's not that far off from Biden when it comes to being incoherent. The election this year feels like a stage show. I mean, that's pretty much what politics is at this point. One big fucked up stage show. And I hate it. It's entertaining for all the wrong reasons. Well, honestly, for me, it's more the state of politics now. It's more depressing than it is entertaining. But I do like how aggressive Kamala has been with her campaigning. Like I mentioned this before, a lot of people have been calling conservatives weird recently, and a lot of that stems from an ad that Kamala's campaign put out, or a PAC that donates to Kamala, I think, where you had these greasy, fat-looking actors, you know, who are pretty much caricatures of Trump supporters, and I'm all for that. Fuck this. They go low, we go high bullshit. Remember when you made that N-word video? Why would you remind me of that? Bruh moment, old Mikey was a bigot. No message retracted. No, nothing to retract there. I definitely had some very backwards beliefs back then. I don't know if I was a full-on bigot, but I definitely had very um shitty views when it came to, say, the LGBT community or people of color. Like I re-uploaded this video on my side channel some years ago. It's unlisted, but I have a link to it. Where I ranted about Pride Month, saying Pride Month was pointless, and that it's shoved in our faces oh so much. Anyone heard anything about Jill Stein or how she's doing in the polls? I don't need to know how Jill Stein is doing in the polls because she is not winning. Me personally, I don't celebrate Pride Month, nor do I complain about it. Whenever I see a Pride flag, I just move on with my day without a second thought. Well, here in NYC, you get a lot of Pride flags here. I never think twice. I mean, I see a Pride flag and I'm like, oh, cool. Whatever. It's just like seeing an American flag. You see that and you're like, whatever. It's just a flag people like to fly. Now, obviously, there are certain flags that shouldn't be flown, like a Confederate flag or a Nazi flag. That's when, there is a justified reason to take contention with a certain flag being flown, but, as long as the flag you're waving isn't a symbol of hate, I have no problem. It feels weird that Shapiro is a nominee. Um, Josh Shapiro? I really hope Josh Shapiro isn't the pick. I mean, I've seen people get really scared because Kamala's holding a rally, I think next Tuesday in Pennsylvania, and that's supposedly when she's supposed to announce her VP pick. And they're like, "Oh, it's in Pennsylvania. That pretty much confirms that Josh Shapiro is going to be the VP pick." But historically, most VP nominees aren't announced in their home state. So I don't think even Harris's campaign itself said, "Don't read too much into the state the rally is being held." Now, obviously, this doesn't mean that Josh Shapiro is 100% ruled out. He could very well be named the VP pick during this rally, of course. But I really hope it's not him, though. He literally fucking compared Palestinian protesters to the KKK. He is a hyper Zionist piece of shit. I don't like him. I'd much rather it be Tim Walz or even Bashir. But my pick, the person I'm pulling for the most is Tim Walz. Minnesota is a shining example of how much good Democrats can be capable of. I mean, just right before I began this stream, someone linked a tweet stating Tim Walz's accomplishments in Minnesota. This is with a one-seat majority. This is from Secular Talk's Twitter account, Kyle Kalinske. Universal free school meals, legal weed, carbon-free electricity by 2040, tax rebates for the working class up to $1,300, 12 weeks paid family leave, 12 weeks paid sick leave, banned conversion therapy, red flag laws for guns, universal background checks for guns, automatic voter registration, free public college under 80K, ban on PFAs, forever chemicals, 2.2 billion increase in K through 12 school funding, sectoral bargaining for nursing home workers. Again, this is with a one-seat majority the Democratic Party has in Minnesota. Meanwhile, here in New York, a solid blue state, you got shitbags like Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul feeding into Republican talking points about how immigrants are a social contagion. We need to close up the borders. The politicians in this country irk me. Well, yeah, this country, but this state specifically irk me so much. Exactly. These people who complain about this stuff are the same people who go on about American pride. Yes, that's absolutely true. They say shit like pride is a sin when it comes to LGBTQ plus people celebrating their identity. Meanwhile, 4th of July was just last month, and I'm sure all of these same fucking people were waving around their American flags, going like, "Yeah, I'm proud to be an American. I am so happy that I just happened to be born on this patch of dirt. Now, in itself, I don't really give a shit about celebrating 4th of July. I mean, I went to a fireworks show on 4th of July. Not really necessarily because I'm celebrating America. I really don't fucking care about the patriotism shit. I just wanted to see a fireworks show because I had nothing to do that day. But I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy. If you think pride is a sin, then you shouldn't be fucking participating in holidays like 4th of July. That's all about pride in your own country. Someone in my area has a rainbow flag on their porch. That's nice. The people who live by me don't really display much in front of their houses. Unfortunately, one house that's right by my house has a Trump 2024 sign in front of it. So, despite living in NYC, one of the most socially progressive areas in this country, the specific part of NYC I live in is very Trump friendly. Like when we had that special election a few months ago, when it came to replacing I already forgot his name. Well, when we had that special election some months ago, my area went red. So that's all you need to know. I don't follow international months, but I accept it. What do you mean by international months? I have a Canadian flag in my room. I don't have any flags in my room. I remember I used to have this big American flag that I had on my ceiling, but that was when I was a little kid. My father put that there, and we got rid of that years and years ago. I would definitely not have that on my ceiling today. Shapiro and Kamala don't go together, to be honest. I really hope that the Harris campaign and Harris herself have the same um, viewpoint because, again, I really don't want Shapiro. I may not be LGBT, but I have no problem with Pride Month. No one should have a problem with Pride Month. I just find it funny that, conservatives are the ones that get the most upset about Pride Month when it's literally because of you people that Pride Month exists. If trans rights, if gay rights was something that was accepted across the board, we would not even need something like Pride Month because in this hypothetical world, being gay and being trans is just seen as another characteristic someone has that no one thinks about. So you have no one but yourselves to blame for the reason Pride Month even exists. The KKK, lol. that's literally what Shapiro um, compared pro-Palestinian protesters to. People who are opposing the genocide of people of color are akin to the KKK. Like, it's beyond parody. That's how Kamala isn't making a shitty choice like Trump did with Vance. Again, I really hope she doesn't make the shitty choice and pick Shapiro, but it would totally be within. It totally would be not out of character for the Democratic Party to have a good thing, then fumble the ball at the last second. America feels authoritarian when it comes to politics. I mean, one major political party is not masking their desire to crack down on women's reproductive rights, crack down on trans rights and LGBTQ plus rights in general. So yeah, I mean, things are pretty fucking authoritarian in this country right now. Land of the free. Man, I hate living in this country. I live in Florida, by the way. I would especially hate this country if I lived in Florida. My condolences. It's like saying Black History Month and Juneteenth is a sin for celebrating your own people. Well, I mean, conservatives also gun at Black History Month and Juneteenth as well. I mean, wasn't it Andrew Tate who literally said on Juneteenth that Juneteenth is N-word shit or whatever? Like, the mask is completely off for a lot of them at this point. Also, Project 2025 scares me. It scares everyone, especially the groups of people Project 2025 would specifically target. I know Trump is now rolling back on 2025. He's backpedaling. I think the director of Project 2025 got fired, but I don't believe for a goddamn second that that this is a genuine effort to distance from Project 2025. Not for one goddamn second. I live in a small liberal city in Alabama, which is a red state. Oh, damn, that's something. Um, yeah, well, I live in a red area in a predominantly blue state, especially a blue city like NYC. Like I said, the special election from a few months ago, back in February, when Swazi won, when he was filling George Santos's seat. That was his name. Jesus Christ. The fuck did I already forget about George Santos? But his opponent, which her name was Maisie or something like that, um, she was a Republican, and my area predominantly voted for her, even though Swazi did end up winning the seat because most of the district voted for him. I participated in that election. I mean, I'm not crazy about Swazi. He's another person who has very unsavory views when it comes to, the genocide in Gaza, but still, I didn't participate in the election George Santos got elected in. That was a big wake up call for me. Obviously, I should also care about local elections, so I voted in that special election. And yes, George Santos represented where I live. My district. There's a lot of American flags in my cities, in my city on the power poles. Let me see. My friend Seth was originally from Huntsville, Alabama, but he moved to Red Deer, Alberta, where I'm at. Living in Alabama must be hell. I've never been in Alabama. I've been in Florida. Alabama's right above Florida. That's the closest I've ever been to Alabama. What up? Hello, Twink Deather. I know you from my Discord server. How you doing? The first Pride Month was a riot. Yeah, the Stonewall riots. That's where Pride Month came from. And again, the riots, Pride Month would not have even happened if there was never any discrimination against LGBTQ plus people. The church I go to has nothing against the LGBT community as long as they trust Christ. Well, there's a problem there as long as they trust Christ. So, what if they're not Christian? Does that mean you could be, well, at least from the point of view of your church, you can be as bigoted to them as possible? That's the problem I have with religion in general. If you're not part of our club, we can dehumanize you as much as possible. The area I live in has a mix of reps and Dems. The Republicans are out in the sticks while the Dems are in the suburbs, which is the part I live in. Yeah, that's the case with most states in this country. The cities are usually more blue while the rural areas lean red. Same thing with here in New York. Like if you go upstate, I mean, it's not, deep red, but you're still more likely to go to encounter Trump signs and shit. I have some family out in Long Island. The times I've been to Long Island, there were so many houses with Trump signs in front of it. Like I said, my uncle who lives out in Long Island on my father's side of the family, he has a big thin blue line flag in front of his house because his son, one of my cousins, is a cop. Ew. Andrew Tate looks like he showers monthly. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Well, we're moving to Canada. I don't know if I would ever move to Canada. I mean, despite a lot of people in my specific area of NYC not having the most savory political views, I like it here. I mean, this is all I know. I've lived in NYC my whole life. I've lived in the same house my whole life. This is probably going to be my house someday. I have no desire to move. I know people who have moved multiple times in their lives, and I don't know how they do it. Like, I'm so used to just being in the same place. I don't know anyone in my personal life, at least, who has moved out of state or anything, but I'd imagine that'd be really hard too. I mean, if you really fucking hate where you currently are, I guess moving far away isn't that hard, but me personally, I like where I'm at, so I can't really imagine moving far away, especially out of state or even out of country. Living in Canada sounds better than living in the US, I suppose. I mean, isn't a right winger poised to win in Canada's next election for Prime Minister? I'll admit I'm not the most well versed in Canadian politics, though. Other than Trudeau, Canada is a great country. Yeah, I'm sure it's definitely better than here. Speaking of Andrew Tate, there's allegedly a list of protected Twitter users which has Tate on it, and a list of slurs ignored from the moderation. If a protected user says it, well, I mean, I didn't need there to be a list of protected users to know that there is indeed a select amount of people who are protected, no matter what they say on Twitter, especially if they're, like prominent right wing accounts like Libs of TikTok, Andrew Tate, and the like, or that End Wokeness person who I believe is Jack Posobiec. I've heard his identity was revealed recently, if that's true. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that all these prominent right wingers are protected on Twitter. I mean, look at who fucking runs Twitter, Elon Musk, who just the other day posted an ad with an AI voice of Kamala saying she's a woke diversity hire or some shit like that. It's funny how I think it was Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, was like, "Can we please not attack Kamala on the content of her skin and her gender? Because that just makes us look so bad." Of course, it wasn't out of any real principles the guy has. Like, he legitimately stands against misogyny and racism. He was just like, this makes us look really bad, so can we please not go that angle? But all of these right wingers just can't help themselves saying that Kamala is a DEI hire. She's a woman, so therefore we can't trust her in a position of power. And I'm like, just keep sounding off about that bullshit, because it makes you look extremely bad. And again, is more fuel for people to call you fucking weird, which you are. You're fucking weird. I wouldn't say that. There's a rich area where I live. Isn't all a red area. I don't know what you're responding to. I've lived in 5 different homes in my life. One in Calgary from 2006 to 2008, and the rest in my hometown, 2008 to now. Well, yeah, I have no experience when it comes to moving. Who knows? Maybe someday I'll move, but right now I'm pretty happy with where I live. I know someone from my group got married a year ago and is about to have a baby soon at age 23. Well, I mean, I know I've said some shit about people getting married young, but that doesn't mean if anyone I know happens to end up getting married young, I'll shit all over them and say, I can't wait for the marriage to fail. No, I would congratulate them. I would hope that, they ended up finding, true love you know, at that age. If they're truly happy with the decision they made. I don't know about having a baby at 23, though, but if that's what they want, congrats to them. Like, if any of my friends, they're all around my age, if they were to end up getting married at this age, I wouldn't be like, shitting all over that or anything. I would congratulate them and hope for the best. But as of now, I don't know anyone who's married or engaged. At least in my personal life, I don't fucking know about online. I'm not one to really ask friends about their romantic or sexual lives. I find it too soon to do that. Well, I mean, I agree. I don't. I honestly think you should just live out your youth and not have to worry about lifelong commitments like having a baby or getting married. I still think that's not the most wise decision, but I mean, if you truly did find your Cinderella or Prince Charming or whatever at that age, and you're 1000% sure this is the person you want to spend your life with, I mean, who am I to say you can't do that? Again, I could say that's not the wisest decision, but, at the end of the day, I can't exactly stop it from happening. I might move to Athens, Georgia someday. It's a nice blue city most famous for the UGA and REM. There's a lot of good stores there too. REM, the band. Are they from Georgia? I've only listened to a select few REM albums. I thought they were from California or something. I've lived in townhomes for my whole life. I've had friends of mine who have been over to my house be like, "How could you live like this with houses attached to each other?" I mean, you could hear what your neighbors are doing, which is kind of true. Like the lady who lives next door, sometimes you can hear her walking or sometimes even talking. I remember she had a boyfriend when I was a kid that she would always argue with. She has a drinking problem too, so sometimes in the middle of the night she'd get drunk and start screaming at her boyfriend. We heard all that. But I'm used to living like that. I mean, she doesn't do any of that these days. She still drinks, but she lives alone, so we don't really hear her. And she goes away on vacation a lot, so it's just whatever. But I'm used to it. Hell, I kind of like it. There's a tighter sense of community where I live. We're not best friends with the neighbors or anything, but we know each other better than probably most neighbors do. Hey, let me get into a more comfortable position. Pink Floyd shirt. Illuminati. Ooh. I remember that video I made back in like 2015 responding to some dipshit saying Pink Floyd is Illuminati. And then that comment section ended up getting graded by unhinged conspiracy nuts telling me how much of an idiot I am. Good times. Yeah, we're likely to get a right wing leader here, but he seems more focused on making housing affordable, making Canada safer than fighting woke. Not saying he's perfect or that his plans will work. I'm still weary since the guy is right wing. I mean, I don't know much about him, but for me, that's enough of a red flag. Hey, Mikey. Hello, Olin. How you doing? I'm packing a bowl right now. Yeah, REM, the band, is from Athens. Oh, are they really? Yeah, they're from Athens, Georgia. For some reason, I thought they're from California, since most fucking bands are from there. I mean, who am I to really know? Because I've only listened to a few REM albums, and I'm I don't know much about the band's history at all, so I didn't know where they were actually from. It depends on what part of Georgia, since they're between red and blue now. I mean, Georgia has a chance of going blue in polls. Kamala and Trump are in a dead tie in Georgia. I mean, of course, that's not a guarantee that Kamala is going to win Georgia, especially if it's a tie. But um, her chances are looking pretty decent in Georgia, especially since you got Atlanta there. Congrats on being right about Boogie 2988 returning. I mean, is that really that wild of a guess to assume that Boogie would return since social media is like crack to him? He needs his fix of, you know, doing a pity party in front of the public and getting sympathy points from the like 10 people who still like him. The neighborhood main road that intersects with my cul-de-sac is 99% duplexes except for two single-family homes at the very end of the drive. Yeah, for me, all the houses in my area, my little neighborhood, are attached, and I like that. And I live in a cul-de-sac, and cul-de-sacs aren't that common here in NYC, so it's cool to live in one. I remember throughout the years, some people online telling me, "How do you do it? How do you live in NYC?" And I'm like, not all of NYC is tall buildings, bright lights, congested streets. There are plenty of quiet neighborhoods here too, like the one I live in. I moved houses a lot in my childhood at some point. It gets pretty tiring. I'd imagine the moving process sounds like it's fucking brutal. Well, maybe not brutal, but like you said, very tiring. Packing up all of the shit in your house, putting it in a truck, and and then having to unpack it and put it all in your new house or apartment. Yeah, that's something I'm glad I've never gotten to experience, but maybe someday I'll experience it. I don't fucking know, but again, I'm pretty happy with where I am. I remember some people when I was still in school didn't believe me when I said that I've never moved in my life, because to them that sounds so foreign, because they've moved maybe like twice or three times in their lives, and I never have. I wish this country was as safe as Japan, since kids in Japan can run errands and run and walk to school on their own. Japan also has much nicer infrastructure and public transportation than us. Much cleaner too. Cheers, taking a hit from my 2 foot long bong. I haven't smoked all day till I joined your stream. That's kind of flattering. I live in a cul-de-sac too. They are very common here, and I live in a single house, not a duplex like you do. Well, that's neat. Yeah, and I mean, I've never really thought much of living in a duplex until some of my friends, not all of them, obviously, some of them are like, "How do you do it? I live in a single house, and I can't imagine having my house attached to someone else's house." And I'm like, I never really thought about it because this is all I know. I mean, again, sometimes I hear my neighbor next door. We live at the end of the duplex, so there's no one at the left side of us. I mean, yeah, sometimes we do have to be considerate, like when it comes to how loud our TV is in the living room, because maybe our neighbor could hear it, or sometimes we hear her TV because her TV is literally on the other side of the wall from our living room. But again, whatever, it's just something we've always had to live with, and something that we've never really thought much of. We have a nice large corner lot with a forest in the backyard. We've lived here since 2015. Nice. And a fire pit in the yard as well. Also nice. What's also cool about living in this little community is that there's a nice little park behind the houses. I did a stream there once, like 8 years ago or some shit. That stream is now deleted. I deleted all my old live streams a few years ago because I got a strike for one of my 2017 live streams. But I did a stream back there one time. I tried to do something different for once and did a stream out in the public. A lot of streamers do that. They're called IRL streams or whatever the fuck, but that is something I could personally never do. I remember starting that stream in a park actually. That's across from our neighborhood. That's actually a public park, and doing videos and streams out in the public. I mean, I've done it a couple of times. I did that one stream in the public. I've done a couple of videos in public. Like the one that comes to my mind immediately is that one where I ranted about '90s kids. I did that in a. It wasn't even a park. It was a playground that was right by my school. Um, I remember the day I recorded that. I was taking a state test, and I had another state test later in the day. And for whatever fucking reason, the school didn't let us stay in between tests, so they kind of kicked us out for like 2 hours. And I remember that day was hot as hell. And then at first I went to a Dunkin' Donuts, and I got kicked out of there because I wasn't a customer. Which whatever. The girl who told me to leave was just doing her job, so I didn't really get mad at her. But so the only place to really go was this little playground that was right by the school. It was scorching hot that day. And I decided, you know what? I was already planning on doing this video. Why not fucking kill time and record that video while I'm waiting for my next test? But anyway, you know, I've done videos in public a couple of times, but it's honestly something that I don't really like doing that much. I mean, um, I just feel really awkward. I'm speaking into a microphone in public. Like people are gonna look at me and be like, "Who's this fucking weirdo just talking to himself?" Where did I leave off? I don't even know where which message that tangent spawned from. Uh, I think Japan is probably one of the cleanest countries on earth. That's what I've heard. Hey Mikey, I'm going to now love your content. As opposed to before, did you hate my content before or something? I'm just fucking with you. Um, Thank you, I suppose. Singapore is also a really clean country from the pictures and videos I've seen. Yeah, I've heard Singapore is relatively clean as well. I mean, I look at pictures of cities in foreign countries and see how nice and clean they are, and then I compare it to the shithole that is NYC. I mean, again, I like living here. I have no complaints when it comes to living here, but this city is fucking dirty. Again, people just throw their garbage frivolously on the ground. People in this country, they don't really put much emphasis on hygiene and public safety and public cleanliness like other countries do. The yards in my city are much larger than houses in large cities. Yeah. And I got a pretty tiny yard behind my house. Japan has much lower crime rates and highest video game usage rates. I guess that kind of flies in the face to the whole violent video game rhetoric, which is what you say in your next message, which is evidence that video games don't cause violent crimes. Exactly. School shooting rates are extremely low in Canada, but weed is fully legal here, which is evidence that weed doesn't cause school shootings. Yeah, I mean, I wish we'd finally just start feeling comfortable having the conversation that there are people in this country who shouldn't have access to weapons that are capable of killing multiple people at a time, instead of focusing on completely irrelevant bullshit like what video games did the shooter play, or what drugs did the shooter take, or was the shooter trans? South Africa is a clean city like Cape Town. However, Japan isn't a perfect country. I heard people get overworked in that country. Oh, yeah, I mean, Japan is obviously far from perfect. I'm just talking about, the things Japan gets right, like public transportation and infrastructure and being, you know, generally clean. The work ethic in Japan is pretty horrific, though. Like for example, Sakurai from Nintendo, hasn't he like literally almost died in the past from how much he's overworked himself? Ireland is a great place for the LGBT community to live in, I've heard. My backyard is probably at least 10 times bigger than yours. Have I ever shown you my backyard? Mine isn't big at all, so I don't doubt that. Maybe I should post a picture of my backyard on my server someday. Oh, low battery. Wait, let me charge my MacBook. Yeah, my laptop is 5 years old, so the battery isn't the best anymore, and doing these streams really fucking eat up the battery. So yeah. Japan doesn't have good representation of the LGBT community. Yeah, I've heard Japan can be pretty backwards when it comes to LGBT people. I've heard Japanese animators are treated badly. I don't know much about the animation scene in Japan. Remember when people were complaining about Waluigi not being in Smash? Oh, I remember that. I've seen some people like be really passionate about Waluigi not being in Smash. Like he doesn't belong in there, and I'm like, who the fuck cares? If Waluigi ever ended up being in Smash, I mean, I don't play the Smash game, so it doesn't really bother me. Like your username, it would bother me none. I've been looking at old Miiverse posts of mine ever since that archive website was put back up. And also, I'm thinking about doing that, doing a sequel to that Giga Gamby parody I made a few years ago, where I looked at cringy old Miiverse posts of mine. I've been thinking about making a sequel to that video one of these days. Maybe it might be my next video. I don't know, but see, I saw some old Miiverse posts where I'd be like, Yeah, I got Smash Bros. For the 3DS. Yeah, I got Smash Bros. For the Wii U. I'm so excited to play these games. And I'm like, this is back when I pretended to give a shit about Smash Bros. It's just funny the contrast from then to now. I mean, a few years ago, I made a video about why I don't like the Smash Bros. Games, and people got mad. I remember seeing a YouTube short about a family moving to a different country from Canada to escape wokeism. Yeah, the YouTube shorts, the algorithm is very heavily favors right wing slop. That's another reason why I don't choose to watch shorts. I mean, one, they're just attention span rotting bullshit. The shorts, again, I don't like that format of content. Despite making those kinds of videos, sometimes they're more fun to make than watch for me. But yeah, I guess I'm contributing to the problem, but whatever. But yeah, that's another reason why I don't like watching shorts is because of the algorithm. I remember when OBA wished harm on Sakurai when Ryu was announced, and he had a huge meltdown when someone played as him in a tournament. Yeah, I remember that video where he was screaming about screaming over someone choosing to play as Ryu in his tournament because I think he had some rule in one of his Smash tournaments about no one playing as Ryu because for whatever reason he really didn't like that Ryu was in Smash. He never really gave a reason as to why he didn't want Ryu in Smash, right? All he was saying was he doesn't belong. I hope Sakurai's wrist injury is permanent because of this. But he never actually explained why that character shouldn't have been in Smash Bros. I don't believe. I remember when you made a short OBA parody video during the OBA hate era. I can't believe it's going to be 10 years old next year. Was that the one? I think I made one where I pretended to do a me. Where I did a Miiverse rant in the same style OBA would make one. I think that's the only OBA parody I ever did. It's gonna be 10 years old next year. That's crazy. It randomly popped in my feed and I clicked not interested. Yeah, that's what I typically do with right wing garbage that pops up in my recommended feed. But it still ends up popping up in my recommended feed, so that not interested button is pretty pointless. Why does the word woke make me laugh? Maybe because the dumbest fucking people abuse that word to death to the point where that word has no meaning. So the only reaction you have to that word anymore is just to laugh whenever it's just mangled by these people. I prefer long form content in live streams. Me personally, I just like good old 5 to 20 minute long videos. I don't really watch live streams a whole lot. I've always just preferred if I'm gonna watch a live stream, I usually just wait for a live stream to be over, so I have control of what part of the live stream I'm gonna watch. But when it comes to actually watching someone live, I really don't do that all that much. The only exception I can think of is probably whenever there's breaking news, I go on Vosh's channel and watch his coverage of it. Yeah, I know Vosh. Ooh. Yeah, I think everyone's already forgotten about the Folder controversy at this point, so whatever. But yeah, that's really the only exception. If there's like big breaking news, like the last time I did that was when the assassination attempt on Trump happened. Woke should remain past tense of wake. I mean, it should have also stayed, the definition should have also stayed as just being alert to systemic injustices inflicted upon people of color and marginalized communities in general. That's where the political version of the word came from. But conservatives decided to take that word and fucking mangle it, and now it's just used as a buzzword to describe anything they don't like. And it's usually a dog whistle for them saying they don't like people of color in media or LGBT people in media because they can't stand these people having any proper representation. Same, that not interested button is clearly out of order. Yeah, there are plenty of right wing channels, or not even right wing, just shit I'm not interested in general popping up in my feed, and I don't want it to pop up in my feed anymore. Like sometimes I watch one video from a YouTube channel, and then YouTube decides to recommend me like 30 other videos from that same channel when I was only interested in watching that one video from that channel and never watching another video by them again. But YouTube thinks I want to see their entire fucking catalog. And then I click not interested in this channel. The channel goes away for a little bit until YouTube decides to recommend me that a channel's videos again that I was not interested in. I thought Ryu was a great choice for Smash, who should have been in Brawl in the first place. Well, again, I don't play the Smash game, so I can't really tell you how good of a choice he really was. And I'm sure he was a fine choice. Again, OBA never really never really explained his reasoning as to why he didn't want Ryu in Smash. Again, all he said was this character doesn't fucking belong in Smash. Sakurai needs to endure permanent pain because of this decision to put Ryu in Smash. And I'm like, what is even your issue? Like, a character you don't like made it into the roster of your fighting game. Like, who the fuck cares? Don't play as the character. I keep hearing the word woke more since 2020. Yeah, that's when that's around the time conservatives started using it a lot. Also, the other day I saw a sign that said "Do not woke enter." What the fuck does that even mean? Do not woke enter. What's your least favorite Eminem album? I don't fucking know, actually. I mean, I listened to his discography a lot years ago. I don't listen to it a whole lot these days, so I don't really think about what my least favorite Eminem album is. I don't know. There's no Eminem album that I outright hate. Even the ones that people don't like usually have their share of songs that I enjoy, like Encore and Relapse, for example. I don't know. Maybe it's Relapse. I'm not saying it's a bad album by any means, but it's the one I don't go back to the most. Encore is an album that I really liked when I first started listening to Eminem's discography when I was like 16. It's an album that I didn't understand the hate for back then, and to an extent, I still like that album. Um, it still has its share of songs that I enjoy, but when it comes to certain songs like that I used to like back then that I don't like now, like um, Big Weenie or Ass Like That or um, My First Single. You know, I liked those songs back then, but I don't like those songs now. Has anyone ever heard of the band Plumtree? I personally haven't. Least favorite Pink Floyd album? Mine would be the More soundtrack. Not to say it's a bad album by any means. To me, for me personally, there is no such thing as a bad Pink Floyd album. Even More has its share of gems like Cymbeline or Nile's Song and Cirrus Minor and other songs that I really like too. That I consider really, really good songs. But there's also a lot of just filler in there because it was a movie soundtrack first and foremost. So a lot of the songs in that album were just meant to like be background noise for certain scenes. So yeah, I mean the gems are definitely top tier '60s Floyd songs, but a lot of it is just just songs that just meant to be just background noise for scenes in the movie it was made for. I remember when OBA was xenophobic because someone played his reunion. Wasn't the guy who picked him from like the UK or some shit? And he was like, "Yeah, this is why I don't like anyone from the UK." Well, to be fair to OBA, I don't like a lot of people in this country. I mean, Americans were the group of people he would rag on the most. I don't like a lot of people in this country as well, but I imagine it's for very different reasons than him. Basically, some idiot plastered the word woke on a do not enter sign. I mean, again, it doesn't really make much sense to me. I was going to mention earlier about Billy Joe Armstrong's first song from when he was 5 called Look for Love. He wrote a song when he was 5. I prefer Relapse over Encore. Yeah, I mean, Relapse has its share of songs that I like, but I don't go back to that album a whole lot. When it comes to Eminem, I mostly just listen to shit from Marshall Mathers LP or Eminem Show these days. Still haven't listened to his new album. Have you ever listened to Madonna or Michael Jackson? Well, I mean, who hasn't listened to Madonna or Michael Jackson at this point? Well, I mean, I've heard their songs on the radio, and I have some Michael Jackson saved on my phone, and I think some Madonna, though I don't really like Madonna's music all that much. And Michael Jackson. Well, I'm not the biggest pop person, so I don't listen to a whole lot of Michael Jackson. Maybe I should though. I just know the songs everyone knows by Michael Jackson. Thriller, Billie Jean, Bad. Just Lose It is good though. Oh yeah, Just Lose It is good too. A lot of people hate that song from what I've seen, but I like that song. It's amusing. I used to not like songs made by Prince, but they sound decent, to be honest, for its time. Prince is probably an artist I should get into. I hear a lot of good things about his discography. But for now, I'm taking a break from listening to artist discographies because I just recently listened to Bob Dylan's discography, 40 studio albums plus 20 plus albums worth of bootlegs and live stuff. So, yeah. I was watching some guy stream. He was playing Minecraft, and some douche with a Ronald McDonald profile picture spammed N-word towers in the chat. Well, fitting profile picture, because if you're one to spam the N-word in someone else's chat, then you probably are a fucking clown. Yeah, Billy Joe did write a song when he was 5. That's neat. I remember when OBA defended Toby Turner when he was accused of rape by his ex and sent a hate tweet to them on Twitter. Oh, did he really send a hate tweet? I didn't know that part. I just know about the defense video that he made. Funnily enough, it was made, the day before he got arrested. One predator, having the back of another predator. Sweet. Toby Turner went on the right-wing grift train. I mean, it's not really disheartening because I never watched his content as a kid. I just liked it. I just knew him really for Annoying Orange. He would voice a bunch of the fruits on Annoying Orange. That's all I knew him for as a kid. I didn't really watch his content. But now he's went the way of a lot of washed up content creators. Bash trans people for relevancy. Ronald McDonald profile picture dude got banned and the troll went back under the bridge. But unfortunately, they're inevitably going to crawl back out from under the bridge, surely. 2-hour stream now. Time passes fast. Oh, well, you're right. 2 hours and 6 minutes. Completely lost track of how long I've been doing this. Well, it is high time for me to end this stream because my voice is hurting, but I'll read the last few messages here in the chat before I leave. May as well give that courtesy to people. I remember someone trying to cancel Michael Jackson after he died because of the whole allegations. I don't really know much about the allegations, really, concerning Michael Jackson. I remember that documentary that came out a few years ago. I've seen some people saying the allegations are credible, other people saying they're not, and I honestly haven't really looked into them. And again, I'm not the biggest Michael Jackson fan, so I have no real stake in whether or not he was a child predator. It has nothing. It wouldn't affect my enjoyment of his music at all because I don't listen to much of his music. I love pop, but I actually prefer 90s to 2000s pop music, especially Britney Spears. I don't really listen to much Britney Spears at all. Obia sees himself as a god, which makes him sound delusional. He called his accuser a liar and an SJW on Twitter. He would totally be on the anti-woke bandwagon had he never gotten arrested. I remember when OBA threatened to kill someone over an amiibo. Have a nice day, Mikey. See ya. Take care. Take care to you too. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all to those who were here who weren't here before. Yada, yada, yada. Whatever the fuck else I usually say at the end of these streams. I forget. But yeah, I appreciate everyone I talk to here. You all make these streams very fun. And next stream will probably be sometime in September, I assume. Again, the August stream came by really early this month, but I really felt like doing a stream today. Just woke up and was really in the mood to interact with the chat. And again, you all made this really fun and worth it. Anyway, I'm gonna head off now. Again, take care.